Today is June 7th, 2015, and this is my Aristo-Craft Mallet steam engine with Vanderbilt tender that I just body-mounted Kadee 907 center set couplers on. And the front pilot here was rather interesting to do because if you just mounted it on the front pilot, there's only two small screws that fasten it, and it would just rip right off. So I made a steel U-shaped bracket with sort of horizontal ears on either end under here to clear the pony truck and fasten it to the motor block here. And I happen to use stainless steel, but I think regular galvanized sheet steel, 35 thousandths thick, which is the thickness I used, would work just as well. Stainless was really hard to work with, and it's certainly super strong. So I was able to form it over using Hobby Vice's machinist hammers and small blocks of metal to form it, and it did work. So, and then I lowered the Vanderbilt tenor here. It has Commonwealth trucks, 3-axle trucks, and I was able to actually flip the bolster that fastens between the side frames and turn it upside down and fasten it, and there's a little pocket in that thing in the center where it pivots, where it fastens to the body of the tender, and I put a spacer in there, and I've lowered it to basically 0.16 inch. That's 160 thousandths of an inch, and it may not seem like much, but when comparing the original way this thing looked, it looked like a daddy long legs thing sitting way too high. And having examined some prototype photographs, particularly of Great Northern type tenders that resembled this quite a bit, I was able to replicate the slight air gap that's between the frame here on either end here, and it works quite well on 8-foot diameter track. This happens to be a 10-foot diameter track in my underhouse layout, where it's poised about almost to leave for the outdoor layout. And of course the test train here happens to be the Union Pacific fluted side or bud type passenger cars, and they all have center set Kadee 907s body mounted, and as the tender does here, it's has a Kadee 905 body mounted, and I made a sort of a right angle bracket in which to hold it, and it worked out quite well. There's only one screw that holds it on, but it's really strong. And it's shaped like sort of like a trapezoid on its lower leg there, and it rests against the angular side here of the frame, and that keeps it from moving around. So it worked quite well. And of course I put a body mount drawbar mechanism in here too. There's no sense in doing a body mount on one end without a body mount mechanism on the other end. So here we go, and we're about to run the train outside. So this is my maiden voyage of the Mallet. I've had it for many years, haven't done anything with it, just like with these passenger cars that I recently had addressed and lowered them as well. And I was powering them with 2 Union Pacific E8s, but we'll see what this single Mallet will do. There's 7 cars in this train. It's not that long, but the cars are maybe around 5 pounds in that area of weight. Now there's the Mallet over the reinforced LGB bridge. The Mallet weighs almost 16 pounds, the engine itself. The tender weighs a little over 5 pounds, not much, somewhere around 5 pounds. Or maybe it's a little under, somewhere near 5 pounds. So I'll increase the speed here to make the grade. Of course, they probably didn't have dome cars in the era of this Mallet, but it probably lasted up through maybe past World War II. And this is my double loop to gain altitude up to the upper part of the yard here. And eventually the train will get up to the upper part of the yard here. It averages about 2.2%. So it's beginning the second loop there roughly. So it's gotten up to the upper part of the yard here. So I'll have to switch this track here. So it's going through the center section here. And it's about to go over the viaduct. And head down grade. The modifications done to the Mallet will operate perfectly well on 8-foot diameter curved track with its body mount center set couplers. And I'll switch the track so it goes along the outside loop, which is along the fence line here when it comes around next. So this This is the first time this steam engine's been outdoors on its maiden test. Back over the viaduct again. Now I'll have to switch this train line turnout here, so when it comes back along the fence line it'll be properly switched. Since it has a powered frog, it would tend to short out if I didn't switch it, even though it's spring loaded. I use track power with Aristo-Craft Revolution train engineer here. Stainless steel track outside here, brass under the house. And there you can see the train is now along the fence line. Looks like it's double drivers of a 2882 certainly were able to pull this train. If I had an Aristo-Craft Pacific, it would be too feeble to pull anything. This is my only steam engine. I got it because of the double drivers, and it's almost 16-pound weight. So if I had to double head these things, it would take up a lot more room than diesels. So we'll see if we got a glimpse of the train coming down the grade here. There you can see the action of the connecting rods there on the steam engine. It's kind of neat. And there's the nice Vanderbilt tender. I've always liked the Vanderbilt tender. And here it comes over the viaduct one more time. And it'll come around the tree here. And there you have it. And here's the mallet about to come around off the viaduct once again.